How's it going, guys? On this episode of Nanarel TV, we are going to be watching every Star Wars movie leading up to The Last Jedi.
Oh yeah, I'm excited. I honestly haven't seen a lot of these Star Wars movies since I was a little girl.
Yeah, same. Since I was a little girl. We're going to watch them and let you know what we think about them. We have even invited Finn to come along with us for the journey. We have some of the friends over. We've got Ashley and Lindsay. And we've got Tommy and Coco. I don't really... And then... So we're... Who are you?
I'm the entertainment for the evening.
We just had to pause the movie for like a good 20 minutes just to talk about how ridiculous the midichlorians are. Literally anyone could have been Anakin's dad and I would have been okay with it. Like, okay, Darth Maul, I mean, come on, let's just do anybody. Liam Hemsworth, for crying out loud. Let's just pick somebody and have him have a dad, because that is ridiculous.
Liam Neeson?
Well, I wouldn't mind him either.
Okay, so we just finished The Phantom Menace. Both of our first time seeing it in quite a while, and it was pretty much same as how I remembered it.
Yep.
I get that Jar Jar Binks is like the most universally hated character in the Star Wars universe. I don't like him myself, but I wouldn't have minded if maybe he's in like the first 10 minutes and then they take him out completely.
I remember as a kid, like, he was my favorite character, and now that I watch this and I'm thinking, he is so annoying. Like, he has way too many lines. Like, halfway through the movie, I'm like, man, at least he's not talking. Right when I finished saying that, he said a line. I was like, okay, I spoke too soon.
Misa no like you, Jar Jar.
What do you think, Pally?
Also, another thing I was going to say is I felt like all the acting was very, very stiff in this. Like, there's no expression from practically any of the characters. The only person we see expression from is freaking Jar Jar Binks.
I agree with the stiff acting. When Qui-Gon dies and they're doing the
ceremony, the Jedi burning ceremony thing.
Exactly. I was surprised, like, not only was everybody stiff and just staring, but then Anakin says the most insensitive line. He turns to Obi-Wan, what happens to me now?
This guy who freaking took you away from Tatooine to give you a better life just died. He's burning in front of you.
Okay, finally, in the ending scene, when there's hope, they're singing. I was gonna demonstrate. Like, Padme is still just like handing on the electric ball to
the electric ball.
I don't know what it's called.
I don't know what it's called either. It's the electric ball.
She hands it over, and then finally she looks over at Anakin and she's like, she loves Anakin.
They're gonna have Luke and Leia. That's just a prediction. I don't actually know if that happens or not. This movie could have been a lot better. If it were up to me, this is how it would have been. Darth Maul does not die. He's kind of like the Darth Vader of this trilogy. And so he's in the second one, and then maybe he's killed off in the third one. And every single scene with him, especially when they're fighting him, those are the best scenes of the entire movie.
I definitely thought when I was younger that he was way scary, like nightmare status.
I had nightmares of him. I had a nightmare once where he was chasing me on one of those speed bikes. And for some reason I had super speed, and I remember just booking it down this mountain. He was cruising after me. I was terrified.
Apparently a lot of people don't like the actor who plays Anakin in this movie, but I think
Jake
he's cool.
Lloyd, I think his name is.
I thought he was good. He was confident and cute. Although some of the lines that he was speaking when he was in the pod race didn't match his mouth, and that was kind of funny.
Oh my goodness. That's your biggest complaint about him?
Yes, he's a cool kid, I think.
I think he's the cheese.
I'm gonna give it a 4. Out of the other Star Wars movies, I think this one's the least memorable.
I think I would give The Phantom Menace probably like a 6 out of 10. Like, the fight at the end is really cool between Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Darth Maul. I really like that fight scene. And so that alone kind of makes up for the fault. But even then, it's still just kind of a boring movie with a lot of cheese in it. Alright, so that concludes our review for Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, and we will get back to you on Attack of the Clones.
Hey guys, we just finished Star Wars Episode 2. In my opinion, I thought it was much better than the first one.
I love it at the beginning when they're chasing, I think her name's Zam Wessel, the one working for Jango Fett. Anakin Skywalker, they're like cruising, and he sees her and he jumps out of the ship, and Obi-Wan Kenobi like he like looks overboard and he's like, oh, I hate it when he does that. It's like, does Anakin do this on a regular basis? Then I started thinking, what if Anakin Skywalker was on the show My Strange Addiction, and he's like, and I'm obsessed with jumping out of ships.
I think it had a lot of potential to be a really, really, really great movie, except that the lines were just poorly written.
Yeah, everyone seems to complain that Hayden Christensen is like one of the worst actors ever. I don't think it's so much that he's a bad actor. I think it's more so that his lines are just terrible. The love connection with Padme and Anakin was just really weird and uncomfortable on a lot of levels. Just like the way they fall in love was just like creepy. Also that scene where they're in like the droid factory and Padme is in that one barrel. It reminds me of the movie Chicken Run. Like, doesn't something similar happen in the movie Chicken Run?
Yes, when they're being baked into pot pies. That's so funny.
Yeah, Chicken Run came out in 2000, and I believe Attack of the Clones came out in 2002.
They had to get their ideas from somewhere, I guess. They certainly got their cheesy lines from kids' movies.
One of the complaints I had with this movie is the same complaint I had about Phantom Menace. They kill off the cool characters. The Phantom Menace, we lose Darth Maul, and in this one, we lose Jango Fett. I don't know. For me, I love Jango Fett and Darth Maul, and I think they're cool additions to the prequel trilogy. And so killing them off in the movie that they're introduced in is just kind of frustrating.
I think my favorite scene is when Yoda's fighting Dooku. I just think it's like, he comes in on this cane, and he's like this raggedy old man, and then just is like, drops his cane and uses the Force, and then they have this epic battle with their lightsabers, and then freaking Dooku gets scared and runs off in his little ship.
Probably my favorite scene in this movie was the fight between Jango Fett and Obi-Wan Kenobi. It just goes again with me liking Jango Fett a lot.
So when I think about rating this movie, I think it was definitely better than the first one. I'll give that credit to them. I wanted to give it a 6, but I think I'm gonna have to go with a 5. Because it wasn't on the terrible scale, but it wasn't on the great scale.
Yeah, for me, I do think it's better than Phantom Menace, but not by a whole lot. They both have some select cool scenes, but overall, it's just kind of a cheesy mess. I'd probably give Star Wars Episode 2 a 6.5 out of 10. Okay, so we just finished Revenge of the Sith, and it is freaking about time these Star Wars movies get good.
It has been a long time since I've seen it, and man, I forgot how incredible it is. And the lines are better, and the emotion is way better. One thing that I've really noticed about this film is how it makes the viewers emotional.
I think my favorite scene in this movie is when Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin have their huge fight, and at the same time it cuts back to Yoda and Darth Sidious fighting. Not only do I love these scenes because of how cool they are to watch, but also the music that's playing is really neat as well. They use scores from Empire Strikes Back, the Clash of the Lightsabers, and then they also use a score from The Phantom Menace when they have that battle between Darth Maul at the end of the movie.
It makes the moment more epic.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Thank you.
You're welcome. Another thing I like in this movie is the choreography for the lightsaber
Oh yeah,
matches.
seriously.
It's so much better than the other movies that we've seen so far.
Yeah, that lightsaber battle between Anakin and Obi-Wan has to be one of my favorites of the whole entire series. Something that I thought was interesting is how in that final battle between Obi-Wan and Anakin, Anakin's uniform is a darker color and Obi-Wan's uniform is a lighter color. It was just some cool little symbolism they threw in there between the dark side and the Jedis.
This movie was really well done, and I appreciate it a whole lot more than the first and second. And so my rating for this one is a 9 out of 10. I think they were able to show the backstory of Darth Vader so well. It's just a powerful movie. I feel like they got their point across in this movie.
I'm gonna give this movie a 9 out of 10 as well. The only reason it's not a 10 out of 10 is I still feel like there are a few cheesy things, a few things that happen in the plot where it's like, okay, really? Like for an example, when Mace Windu and the 3 other Jedis come to arrest Darth Sidious, the 3 other Jedis are dead in seconds, and it's like, wait, you guys are like on the Jedi Council, you've probably trained a Jedi, you've probably trained a few Jedis, and you're dead that fast? Now I get that they probably weren't expecting him to pull out a lightsaber because they were probably just expecting it to be a casual little arrest, like, oh, okay, come on, Chancellor Palpatine, you know, whatever, the usual. But still, like, you should always be on your guard as a Jedi, and so like things like that I find kind of stupid. But overall, I did love this movie. There are several moments where I got goosebumps, and I felt like I feel when I watch the original trilogy. And so that's why I think this movie did best. Now, if only the first two movies were as good as this one.
Okay, the end of this movie just makes me crave episode 4. Like, I cannot wait.
Yes!
I would watch it right now if we weren't going to see Justice League.
Yeah. Rogue One next. Although it's not an official episode, we wanted to include it since it leads perfectly into A New Hope. Alright guys, so I just finished Rogue One. Unfortunately, Lindsay was not able to join me for this one. She was a little busy. So I watched Rogue One on my own. I love how this one is such an amazing build-up for Episode 4, A New Hope. It's cool watching movies like Rogue One and Force Awakens, the Star Wars movies that take place in the original trilogy era, but come out nowadays, because we get to see the same stormtroopers, the same clone troopers, and the same similar soldiers, but it's done today, and so the visual effects are a lot better. The planets look really cool, and so that's something that I really liked about Rogue One, especially that last planet, Planet Scarif. That was a really cool setting. Although we know what happens before even really watching the movie, just because we have A New Hope, it still is very suspenseful as we're watching the attempts to clear the shield so that the Death Star plans can be sent up. It's just all very suspenseful. And that final scene with Darth Vader, of course, is very cool. It ends on a note where it just gets me super pumped to see Episode 4. I definitely would have to give it a 9 out of 10. And that means that it is time to watch Episode 4, and Lindsay will be available for this one, so let's do this thing. Okay, so we are 34 minutes and 53 seconds into the movie, and we just had to pause it just because, like, I'm getting emotional while watching this right now. It's the scene where Ben Kenobi is with Luke and he's explaining how he fought in the Clone Wars, how he trained Darth Vader, how Darth Vader betrayed Luke's father and killed him. And it's like, it's so powerful because we know the secrets and everything. And in a sense, like, Ben Kenobi is not lying. Like, in a sense, that is true because he killed the old Anakin and became Darth Vader. Like, I don't know. And just hearing all the stories of the prequel trilogy, after seeing the prequel trilogy, it makes this scene super cool.
Okay, we just finished the episode, and I really feel like I have not seen that movie since forever. Who knows when? Like, I feel like maybe I've seen it, but in like another life.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's just so much more fun to watch when you watch Rogue One prior to it, because it makes you appreciate A New Hope so much more. Just in the opening credits alone, there's one paragraph that explains the Rogue One movie in a nutshell. It just all comes together perfectly.
It was really good. I thought Luke was a little bit cheesy, but
yeah.
But I enjoyed it. It was kind of fun to watch him. We obviously know that the movie did really well on its own when it came out, and so I don't think that it needed to be re-edited with all those extra effects that George Lucas added later.
Yeah, I just don't feel like we needed a remastered George Lucas version. Like the whole Han Solo stepping over Jabba the Hutt's tail.
Yes, it looked so choppy. Like
yeah, it's like he's like the inclines, like I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Really weird.
Instead of just like stepping over the tail, it's like they actually moved the character. It was cheesy.
Something that's always kind of low-key bothered me about the Star Wars movies, especially the original trilogy, is just how vulnerable the stormtroopers are. Like, they die so easily, and there's one line in this movie that honestly answers that question, and I'm probably looking into it too much. But it's when Luke and Han Solo are disguised as stormtroopers, and Luke says something along the lines of, man, how do they see out of these things? And so they can't see well. Answers all the questions.
I love how this movie flows perfectly into the next movies. How they like already created this setting for Darth Vader being their dad and Luke and Leia being brother and sister and stuff. And Obi-Wan had to die, and it was just like, it set the tone for the next movies, and I don't even know if they had the plans to make Darth Vader Luke and Leia's father at that point in time, but it was perfect.
It works so well. Even if they didn't have that in mind, the lines that they used and the way they like edited the final cut and everything just works perfectly.
It worked.
Yeah. I could keep going on about how good this movie was. I mean, there are some outdated effects, but just because of what you're watching, it makes up for it. Super enjoyable movie, and I would give Episode 4, A New Hope, a 10 out of 10.
Nice.
It was good. It was good.
I think this movie was perfect as it was originally released. But the remastered version just kind of made it a little bit like you touched a masterpiece, and so it shouldn't have happened. The remastered version that we watched, I'm going to give an 8 out of 10. I think it was a really great movie. It had good effects for that time period. However, they shouldn't have added those effects that weren't necessary in the first place. Yoda is here! Woo!
Yeah, that movie was amazing. This one has always kind of been my favorite one of the Star Wars series, so revisiting it again, it's been a few years since I've seen it. It was amazing.
I feel like this movie is the most classic Star Wars film they have. It's like the one where you hear so many famous lines throughout the movie.
Size matters not. Judge me by my size, do you? It's a trap.
Luke, I am your father.
Nope.
No!
It's no, I am your father.
Noah?
Do or do not, there is no do or do not, there is no try. Yeah.
No, I am your father.
Ah, there we go. We have a winner. Woo! I love the whole part where Luke is being trained by Yoda, especially the scenes where, pretty much the scene where Yoda raises the ship out of the creek. And that's the whole scene where he says, do or do not, there is no try. That's a super powerful scene where it kind of proves to Luke, size really doesn't matter. It's the Force that matters. And then my second favorite part is when Luke fights Darth Vader. And obviously it's revealed that Darth Vader is his father. Darth Vader kind of gives off the vibe that Marlon Brando gives off as the Godfather. Like when he's on the screen, you just feel intimidated by him. Like just his presence in the movie. Or it's like the Joker from The Dark Knight. Like just when these characters are on screen, you feel intimidated by them.
So, since this movie is so iconic and classic, I want to give this Star Wars a 10 out of 10. I think it's just the most Star Warsies of them all. I knew I just wanted to get a 2 out of 2. I like this one.
Yeah, I would also give this one a 10 out of 10. For me, this one and A New Hope are practically tied. I think I like this one a hair more, just because it picks right up from where New Hope left off, and you already know the characters, the character development is great, and the biggest reason is you see more of Darth Vader.
Cheers to Empire Strikes Back! Woo! On to Return of the Jedi. Dun 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 dun.
So if you couldn't guess, we just finished Return of the Jedi, and this is a good Star Wars movie. I feel like it's kind of like the second Toy Story in the Toy Story trilogy, where the trilogy is solid, but Toy Story 2 is the weakest part of the trilogy. And that's how I feel about Return of the Jedi, where it's a solid movie, but there are some weak things about it. But overall, for me, the good parts outweigh the bad parts.
I think this movie had powerful lines and powerful moments. And so I thought it was actually one of the great Star Wars episodes.
I think it's a good Star Wars movie, but just out of 4, 5, and 6, 4 and 5 are better. I don't like the Ewoks. Ewoks bother me. They are freaky looking.
They're so cute.
When they blink, it's creepy. And the whole entire part where the Ewoks think C-3PO is their god, it just didn't feel like the other two Star Wars movies felt.
It's really strong at points, and it has really great lines, powerful scenes. It's a great finale to the trilogy. Sure, the Ewok story could have been a little bit better, but for the most part, I think it was funny. It kind of added a comedic feel to it. I also really enjoyed the encounter with Luke and Darth Vader. I didn't like how General Grievous, I didn't like how Darth Sidious kept saying, "You're going to go to the dark side," because he said it like a trillion times, and I was like, okay, like you've said it enough. But I think it just added to the intensity of the moment when Darth Vader stands up to him and saves Luke's life.
That part where Darth Vader is conflicted, and you can tell that he's looking from Luke to Darth Sidious as he's killing Luke, that is a super powerful moment. And when he decides that, there is still good in him, and he kind of reverts back to the Jedi, to the Force, the good Force, and he picks up Darth Sidious. That is one of the most powerful moments in the whole trilogy. Not only that, but when Luke is fighting Darth Vader and Luke clearly wins, he cuts his hand off, Darth Vader loses his lightsaber. You can just tell Darth Vader is defeated. He's lost this battle. I think that whole entire encounter, the whole relationship with Luke and Darth Vader in this movie is so special, especially in the last few minutes when Darth Vader is basically dying in his son's arms. That's super powerful, and I got a little emotional. We've been watching 6 movies with this Anakin Skywalker, and then we watch him die, and so it was very powerful when he finally passes away and he did convert back to the Jedi. And I just think it's so cool because he fulfilled the prophecy. I mean, he brought balance to the Force, and so that's awesome.
I thought it was interesting how Darth Vader, he has the mask on, so he can't really show emotion through his facial expressions. However, when he's conflicted because Luke is dying in front of him, and then his master is the one that's killing him, it's amazing how you can see the emotion in Darth Vader without even looking at his face. Just the fact that,
true.
Yeah, you can like feel it in the moment and with the music and just with the intense, like Luke screaming and Darth Sidious is like, this is when you'll die. You can just kind of tell with his body language and with the feel of the whole scene, you can see that he's conflicted.
Again, I don't think it's as strong as A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, but the strong scenes that it does have makes the entire movie worth it. It makes it a better movie. And Admiral Akbar, best Star Wars character ever. Don't care what you guys say, I'm voting for him for President 2020. So overall, I enjoyed Return of the Jedi. I think I would give it 9 out of 10 stars. I liked it, but I didn't necessarily love it.
The added scenes that George Lucas put into the film, again, I didn't like them. To be honest, like, I'd rather have the puppets than the scenes where you're just like, oh, okay, that was added in. Because the technology, when he added it in, it wasn't that great because those scenes look
Terrible.
I would give this movie a 10 out of 10. I think it deserved it. I think if I was to watch the trilogy back in the day when it came out, I would have been impressed with the technology that they used. I feel like it was a strong ending to a 3-part series. We're finished!
Yes.
We're finished.
But it's okay, come Thursday. And we finally saw the movie with Finn! Yeah! He is going to be at the premiere for Last Jedi with me. I think I'm even going to buy a ticket for him if they're not sold out yet, and he'll sit next to me.
Wow!
I absolutely love The Force Awakens. Some of the biggest complaints this movie gets is that it's too similar to A New Hope, and that Kylo Ren can be a little whiny. And honestly, those two problems, they don't affect me at all. I don't mind that the story is similar to A New Hope. I think it works perfect for the movie. And Kylo Ren doesn't seem whiny at all to me. I really enjoy his character. I think he's just very conflicted, and like a lot of other Star Wars characters as we've been seeing throughout the series. I love like all the new characters. I love Finn. I love Rey. Rey, oh my goodness.
Who doesn't love Rey?
Yeah, Rey is just so sick.
I loved it. It was like a throwback to the old movies. It established the nostalgic factor. And can we just take a moment to appreciate BB-8? He is the cutest character. Like I was saying for another episode, that you can see Darth Vader's emotions even when he has a helmet on. That's how I feel about BB-8. My favorite part for BB-8 is when he gives the thumbs up.
Yeah, that part's so
to
funny.
Finn. Finn is like, and then he like does that.
Yeah, like a little lighter comes out.
Yeah, a little lighter comes
So
out
cute.
and giving them thumbs up. I love that part.
My favorite scene of the whole movie, for sure, is that final lightsaber fight on the Star Killer when they're fighting in the snow. And the thing I like about it so much is it is such a raw fight. I just love how simple it is, because Finn obviously has no training with the Force. Neither does Rey, really. Kylo Ren has some training, but still, he's so weak from the shot, and like, it's just such a cool fight. In fact, this fight is one of my favorites of the whole entire saga. Although it's not the most choreographed fight by any means, it works perfect. I love that it's not choreographed. I love that it's so simple, because it makes the scene so much more powerful. When she pulls the lightsaber out of the snow, major chills. I love it.
Even before the prequels came out, I feel like audiences were craving Star Wars and what happened to Luke and Leia and Han Solo and Chewie. And so I'm so glad that we got to continue that story and see just a little bit of every bit of their story. And now that Luke has been introduced at the end of the movie, I'm super excited to see what the next movie has. To be honest, I wasn't a huge Star Wars fan, but my dad has always been a Star Wars fan, and he would have us watch Star Wars with him, and that was kind of fun memories. When The Force Awakens came out, like, I was like, okay, great, it's another Star Wars movie, my dad likes it, whatever, I'll go see it. And it exceeded so many expectations, and my husband, who thought like Star Wars was like just kind of a cheesy Star Trek kind of nerd thing, he got into the Star Wars films. And so it just goes to show that like this movie is really incredible and has opened up the eyes of a new generation to Star Wars.
So if you couldn't already tell, I absolutely love The Force Awakens, and I would give it an easy 10 out of 10.
You know, me too. I really enjoyed this movie. I enjoyed this whole Star Wars journey with you, Brother Nate.
Cheese, Nate.
And I knew that was coming, but well, like
Thank you guys so much for watching this video, especially if you stuck through the whole entire video and watched all our reviews. We appreciate it. Definitely make sure you subscribe to TheBlondGenie. I will leave her link in the description. It will also be available on this video, where you can watch her edit of this Star Wars journey and also her review for The Last Jedi. And also, before I wrap up this video, I wanted to give a quick shout out to my friend Isaac.
What up, Isaac?
Yes, Isaac. He has a sweet channel, talks a lot about football and other various things. I will leave the link to his YouTube channel in the description below. Definitely hit that subscribe button for his channel. And if you liked this video and you guys want to see more, then hit that subscribe button on my channel.